There's a moment where everything feels stuck. You've tried, you've aligned, you've visualized, and still nothing moves. So you assume something must be wrong with you, that you're blocked, that the universe isn't listening, that maybe this just isn't meant for you. But what if that feeling isn't a block? What if it's feedback? What if the stuckness isn't punishment, but misalignment? Not with the world, but with the version of you that's already moved forward. You're not broken, you're just tuned into a version of reality that no longer matches who you're becoming. And until you shift your frequency, not your effort, you'll keep looping the same results. In this video, we're not going to talk about removing blocks. We're going to reveal why the only block is believing you're blocked, and how tuning your identity, not fixing your life, is what actually changes everything. The illusion of being blocked. Feeling stuck is one of the most frustrating experiences. You do the work, you stay consistent, you ask, visualize, and try to stay positive. But when nothing changes, it's easy to believe something's wrong with you, that you're blocked, that you're doing something wrong, that maybe, no matter how hard you try, you'll always be stuck. But this belief isn't true. It's a misunderstanding of how the field responds to energy. What we call being blocked is often just a mismatch between who we're being and what we're asking for. You can't receive a new version of life while holding on to the old version of you. You might think you're open to change, but if your actions, thoughts, and emotions still come from fear, the field reads that as your real signal, and the field reflects that signal back over and over again. Blocks don't come from outside you. They're not punishments from the universe. They're feedback. When things feel delayed or heavy, it's not because you're failing. It's because your current frequency is out of sync with what you say you want. The dream life is still there. The path is still open. But you're not tuned in to the version of you who can receive it. You might be trying to force change while still operating from your past identity. You say you want freedom, but you still think like someone's stuck. You want love, but you still expect to be rejected. You want abundance, but you keep repeating patterns of lack. These old frequencies aren't blocks, they're habits. And habits can be shifted once you become aware of them. The idea that you're blocked is comforting in a strange way, because it makes the delay feel outside your control. But once you realize you're not blocked, you're just out of sync, everything shifts. Because now the power is back in your hands. You can change your field, you can shift your emotional state, you can become available to the life you keep saying you want. Many people think alignment means feeling good all the time, but alignment simply means congruence. When your words, feelings, and actions line up, you can be in alignment even on hard days, as long as you're honest, aware, and moving with integrity. You don't have to fake high vibrations, you just have to stop faking who you're not. What keeps you feeling blocked is the belief that you have to do more to break through, that if you just journal more, meditate more, or try harder, the shift will come. But the shift doesn't come from pressure, it comes from presence, from slowing down and tuning in, from noticing where your energy is out of sync, and gently adjusting it. Sometimes the illusion of being blocked is just a sign that you're in the gap, the space between who you were and who you're becoming. And in that space, things feel quiet, still, confusing. But it's not because nothing is happening, it's because something new is forming. The silence isn't the block. The silence is the space for tuning. You don't have to figure everything out to become unblocked. You just need to make one small shift toward coherence, one choice that aligns with your future self, one thought that supports your new identity, one emotion that feels like trust instead of fear. Each time you do this, your field adjusts, and your signal becomes clearer. Imagine a radio station broadcasting 24/7. If you're tuned to the wrong frequency, you'll hear static. That doesn't mean the station stopped playing. It just means you haven't matched it yet. Your dream life is the same. It's already broadcasting. The question is, are you tuned in, or are you stuck on a channel from your past? You've never been blocked. You've just been misaligned. And now that you see that, now that you understand the illusion, you can stop wasting energy trying to force change. Instead, you can focus on syncing, matching your energy to the outcome, choosing to act, speak, and feel from the version of you who's already receiving. This isn't about doing more, it's about becoming more aware, more intentional, more in tune with the signal you're sending, because the field is always listening. And once your energy becomes clear, steady, and true, what you've been waiting for can finally find you, not because you broke through a block, but because you aligned with what was already yours. The conflict between old identity and new frequency. You say you want to change. You visualize a new reality. You see yourself living in peace, in power, in abundance. But deep inside, something keeps pulling you back. That something is your old identity. The habits, the thoughts, the emotions that feel familiar, even if they don't serve you. And without realizing it, you start living between two worlds, the one you're stepping into and the one you're afraid to leave. Your old identity is built on survival. It knows how to protect, how to predict, how to stay safe in discomfort. It's not evil, it's loyal. It wants to keep you grounded in what's known. But the life you desire exists on a different frequency. A frequency that demands trust, risk, and expansion. The tension between these two identities creates resistance, and that resistance feels like being stuck. You might wake up feeling inspired, ready to take a step forward. But by the afternoon, fear creeps in. Doubt shows up. Old thoughts whisper, "What if this doesn't work?" That back and forth is the conflict. The new frequency is reaching for you, but your old identity is still louder, and until that identity starts to lose power, the shift will always feel like a struggle. It's not enough to want a better life. You have to become the version of you who's able to live it. That means shedding beliefs that once protected you but now limit you. It means walking away from emotional patterns that feel safe but keep you small. It means choosing alignment even when it feels unfamiliar. The old identity thrives on repetition. It gets stronger every time you make the same choice from fear, every time you expect disappointment, every time you let insecurity lead. And the longer you stay loyal to those patterns, the harder it becomes to hear the call of your future self, the one operating on a new frequency. The new frequency isn't just a thought, it's a state, a feeling, a vibration that carries new beliefs, new boundaries, and new levels of self-trust. At first, this state feels foreign. You might even sabotage it when it arrives. Why? Because your nervous system still believes safety lives in struggle. Until that wiring changes, your old identity will keep winning. You may notice that when you start to shift, your life gets uncomfortable. That's not failure. That's friction between the old and the new. Your external world begins to reflect this inner conflict. People pull away. Habits break down. Emotions rise. Not to stop you, but to test you. Will you return to who you were, or step fully into who you're becoming? You can't walk in two directions at once. You can't keep the thinking patterns of your past while trying to align with the vision of your future. The field reads your energy, not your effort. And when it feels split, nothing moves. The only way to resolve this is to choose, to release what no longer resonates and stand fully in the new signal. This is not about forcing yourself to be someone else. It's about remembering the version of you that already exists in the field, the one who knows peace, who expects good things, who operates from love, not fear. That version isn't a fantasy, it's a frequency, but to access it, you have to stop feeding the identity that believes struggle is your destiny. You'll feel the conflict most when you're about to shift. The old identity will scream louder. It'll try to protect itself. That's the moment of decision, not to push harder, but to become quieter inside, to ground yourself in the vibration of the version of you that has already evolved, not with words, but with energy. You don't heal this conflict by deleting the old you. You integrate it. You thank it for keeping you alive, for protecting you. Then you release it with love, because the version of you that's aligned with your future can't grow in the soil of shame or judgment. Growth requires compassion and repetition. Emotional repetition of the new frequency. Every time you choose alignment over fear, you weaken the old identity. Every time you act from the new frequency, you give it power. That's how the conflict dissolves, not all at once, but day by day, choice by choice, vibration by vibration. until eventually, the new version of you isn't just a vision, it's who you've become. Your emotional pattern is your frequency. Your emotions aren't just reactions, they're signals. They're not random bursts of feeling, they're patterns, and those patterns form your frequency. You can say what you want all day long, but your emotions are what the field listens to. If you consistently feel frustration, worry, or scarcity, that becomes your broadcast, and your reality will mirror it back, without fail. You wake up and feel a familiar weight. Maybe it's stress, maybe it's emptiness. You think it's just how life feels, but what you're actually experiencing is emotional memory, the body returning to a practiced state, and that state becomes your dominant signal. It doesn't matter what you say you want. If your body is rehearsing fear, that's what you're aligning with. Most people don't realize their emotions are habits, not conscious choices, habits built through repetition. The same way you automatically check your phone, your body automatically returns to a feeling. You've practiced sadness, anxiety, or doubt for so long that it feels normal. And the quantum field always responds to what's normal for you, not what you wish for. This is why positivity alone doesn't work. You can say affirmations, you can write goals, but if the emotion behind those words is weak or misaligned, the field doesn't shift. You can't fake frequency. You can't trick energy. It responds to the vibration beneath your words. And that vibration is shaped by how you feel consistently, not how you perform occasionally. Your emotional pattern is like music. Some people are broadcasting a soft hum of worry, others a quiet rhythm of peace. The universe tunes into your song, not your script, and it plays back experiences that match your melody. This is why changing your life starts by changing your emotional baseline, not your surroundings. You may think, I don't want to feel like this, but your body doesn't care what you want. It repeats what's familiar. That's why emotional awareness is so powerful. It allows you to catch the pattern, to interrupt it, to choose a new feeling, not by force, but by practice. Repeated emotional shifts create new neural and energetic pathways. Think of your emotions as anchors. Each one pulls you toward a specific timeline. Fear anchors you to delay. Joy anchors you to flow. Gratitude anchors you to abundance. When you shift how you feel, you shift what you're entangled with. You move out of old outcomes and into new ones, not physically, but energetically. This doesn't mean you avoid negative emotions. It means you stop living in them. You feel them, acknowledge them, and then consciously return to a frequency that aligns with who you're becoming. This takes discipline. It takes awareness. But the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. You start to build emotional momentum. Your dream life already exists, but it lives at a specific emotional altitude. You can't reach it by staying stuck in survival mode. You must elevate your internal state, not through pressure, through consistency, by rehearsing emotions that match that future version of you, not just once, but daily, until your new frequency becomes your default. You've been trained to chase results, but emotion is the true portal. When you generate the emotion of the version of you who already has what you want, the field adjusts. Doors open, people shift, opportunities move toward you, not because you forced them, but because you met their vibration. This is why gratitude is so powerful. It's not a spiritual trick, it's a frequency amplifier. When you feel grateful before anything changes, you're telling the field, I trust what's coming. That trust creates alignment, and alignment allows timelines to collapse quickly and effortlessly. Your emotional pattern is like a magnet. It pulls people, events, and situations toward you that reflect how you feel most of the time. If you want to change your magnet, you don't need to scream louder. You need to change your emotional signature. That's what the field understands. That's what it responds to. Emotional mastery isn't about being happy all the time. It's about knowing where you are and knowing how to shift. It's the ability to move from fear to presence, from anxiety to calm, from resistance to openness. These shifts, though subtle, change your entire energetic field, and your field is what shapes your reality. The future you desire already feels peaceful, certain, and secure. If you want to access that timeline, you must start practicing those feelings now, before anything changes. Because once those emotions become your norm, your outer world has no choice but to follow. The version of you that has it all already exists. There's a version of you who already lives in peace, clarity, and abundance. They aren't a fantasy. They aren't some distant future. They exist in the quantum field, right now, as a real, active frequency. You don't need to build this version from scratch. You just need to match their energy. You need to sync with the vibration they live in. This version of you isn't waiting to be created. They're waiting to be remembered. Every time you feel pulled toward something higher, something calmer, something more powerful, it's not your imagination. It's memory. Soul-level memory of who you've always had the potential to be. That pull is a transmission from your highest self. You're not manifesting your future self. You're aligning with them. They already exist in the infinite spectrum of possibilities. And just like a radio station, they're broadcasting constantly. The only thing keeping you from hearing that signal is the frequency you're currently living on. You don't need to get louder, you need to tune in. This version of you doesn't doubt their worth. They don't second-guess their path. They don't beg the universe for signs. They trust. They move from peace, not panic. They speak from clarity, not confusion. And the only reason they feel far away is because you're still rehearsing a vibration that's no longer a match. You may think you're not ready for that version, but readiness isn't a requirement for alignment. The field doesn't wait for perfection. It waits for permission. The moment you give yourself permission to release the old story, the old identity, the old patterns, you create space for the new self to rise. That version of you has already healed what you're afraid to face. They've already chosen the path you're scared to walk. They've already let go of the people, thoughts, and behaviors that don't serve the future. They don't need to become you. You need to become them through small, repeated acts of energetic alignment. You access that version of you by asking, what would they think in this moment? What would they believe? How would they respond to this situation? Then act from that answer, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, because each time you do, you shift your state. You move closer. Every decision is an opportunity to sync with that higher self, from how you speak to how you breathe, from what you tolerate to what you walk away from. These choices are not random, they're signals, and the more your actions match that frequency, the more the field begins to reflect the version of you who already has what you desire. You've seen glimpses of them before, in moments of peace, power, or purpose. You've felt their presence when something inside you clicked. That wasn't luck. That was alignment. And even if those moments were brief, they prove that version of you is real. You just haven't lived there long enough. Yet. The timeline that version of you lives on isn't separate. It's overlapped with your current life. It's just one frequency above, one belief beyond, one level deeper into trust. You don't need to force your way there. You need to resonate your way there. And resonance is built through consistent emotional alignment. This version of you doesn't hustle for validation. They don't prove their value. They know it. They don't fear the unknown. They work with it. They don't chase outcomes. They become magnetic to them. They don't repeat old emotional patterns. They alchemize them into wisdom, and that wisdom becomes their power. You may wonder, if this version of me is so close, why don't I feel them? The answer is simple. Because you're still tuned into who you've been, not who you're becoming. The shift happens the moment you stop identifying with your history and start anchoring in your potential. That's when the future self begins to feel real. When you tune into their energy, things feel lighter. You make decisions faster. You stop explaining yourself. You trust your timing. You raise your standards. You protect your peace. Not because you're pretending, but because that's how the aligned version of you already operates, and you're just catching up. This is the beautiful truth. You don't need to fix yourself to meet your future. You need to release what's not aligned with it. Your job isn't to create the version of you who has it all. Your job is to stop rehearsing the version of you who doesn't believe it's possible. That's how the shift becomes permanent. So every morning, before the noise begins, ask yourself one question. What version of me am I syncing with today? Then move, speak, feel, and decide from that version, because they're already broadcasting. The only thing left is for you to listen, to align, and to become. Syncing isn't external, it's energetic. The change you're looking for doesn't begin with what you do. It begins with how you feel. We're conditioned to believe that results come from effort, grind, and fixing the outside. But true transformation starts in the unseen. The field doesn't respond to motion, it responds to energy. And syncing with your dream life has nothing to do with doing more. It has everything to do with being aligned. You can rearrange your schedule, clean your space, or shift your routines. But if your inner world is still vibrating with fear, doubt, or scarcity, nothing will move. The universe listens to your energy, not your effort. It's not looking at how much you hustle. It's feeling the quality of your frequency, and that frequency is shaped in silence, not in action. Syncing is not about changing your environment first. It's about changing the vibration you bring into every room. You could live in the same house, work the same job, and talk to the same people, and yet attract completely different outcomes, simply because your internal state has shifted. That's energetic alignment. That's true power. Most people try to change their reality by adjusting what they see, but the field doesn't operate based on visuals, it operates based on vibration. You can't trick it with vision boards if your nervous system is still broadcasting worry. You can't expect breakthroughs when your baseline emotion is still rooted in lack. Energy doesn't lie. This is why you must stop measuring progress by what's visible. What matters is how your energy feels when no one's watching. Are you calm? Are you clear? Are you tuned in to trust? Or are you still operating from panic? Because the timeline you want won't land in your life until you become vibrationally available for it. Your energy field is a magnet. It pulls toward you experiences that match your most consistent emotional state. And syncing with a new timeline means elevating that state. Not once, but regularly. You don't have to feel amazing all the time, but you do need to choose alignment more often than not. That choice, over time, becomes your new signal. When you're truly in sync, things feel effortless. That doesn't mean easy. It means there's no internal war. You stop second-guessing, you stop forcing, you stop needing proof. You trust your choices because they come from a grounded, coherent state. The actions are the same, but the energy behind them is different. And that's what the field responds to. It's not about proving your worth. It's about vibrating from it. When you operate from a place of "I already am," the field mirrors that with experiences that reinforce your power. But when you act from "I need to become," the signal gets distorted. Syncing means knowing you're already enough and letting your energy speak louder than your words. Energetic syncing requires presence. You must slow down enough to notice the gap between who you are and how you're acting. It means catching yourself when your thoughts spiral and choosing again. It means interrupting patterns that feel familiar but keep you disconnected. Syncing is gentle correction, not self-judgment. People often look for signs from the universe, but the clearest sign is how you feel. When you're synced, there's ease in your body. There's clarity in your decisions. There's peace in your silence. You stop needing constant reassurance because your energy itself becomes the confirmation. That's what alignment feels like. Syncing is an inside-out practice. It starts in your breath, in your awareness, in your emotional state before you speak, before you act. It's less about strategy and more about frequency, because when you're tuned in, the right actions come naturally, the right ideas flow, and the right people begin to mirror your new vibration. You don't sync by escaping your life. You sync by showing up differently inside of it. You bring a new presence into the same routines, a new level of gratitude into the same tasks, a new belief into the same conversations. And slowly, reality starts to shape itself around who you're becoming, not who you used to be. This is the reason two people can live the same life on paper, but feel completely different inside it. One is synced, the other is performing. One is grounded in self-trust, the other is surviving through control. It's not about what's happening outside. It's about the quality of vibration flowing within. The old way taught you to chase. The aligned way teaches you to tune. Syncing isn't flashy. It's quiet. It's subtle, but it's powerful. Because once you become emotionally and energetically compatible with your desired life, it no longer has to be chased. It moves toward you, not by chance, but by resonance. You don't need to manipulate the world to receive what's meant for you. You only need to remember this: syncing isn't external, it's energetic. And the moment you take your attention off fixing out there and return to tuning in here, the shift begins. And once it begins, the field always responds. How forcing creates false blocks. When you try to force results, you think you're being productive, but what you're really doing is sending out a signal of resistance. The universe doesn't respond to the intensity of your effort, it responds to the clarity of your energy. And when that energy is filled with tension, fear, or doubt, you broadcast confusion, not alignment. Forcing happens when you believe something won't come unless you chase it. That mindset creates urgency, and urgency pushes away the very thing you want. The field responds to your emotional state, not your words. So when your actions are rooted in panic, the frequency you emit blocks the natural flow. Most people think they're being blocked by life, by timing, or even by fate. But what they're really experiencing is energetic feedback. The field mirrors what you're being, not what you're wishing. And when you're constantly trying to prove, hustle, or fix, the field simply says, "Not yet. You're not in sync." A true block is rare. What you're calling a block is usually just misalignment. You're running on a frequency of lack while asking for abundance. You're acting from fear while hoping for peace. That contradiction creates distortion, and in that distortion, clarity cannot land. So you call it stuck, when really it's scrambled. Every time you act from force, you reinforce the belief that you must earn what is already meant for you. That belief turns manifestation into struggle. It tells your subconscious that the dream is far away, hard to get. And so your entire system begins vibrating with doubt, not with trust. Your dream life is already connected to you, but you won't hear its signal through the static of control. Forcing is noise, it's pressure, it's the energy of distrust. And when that energy dominates your field, synchronicities fade, flow disappears, and all that's left is a sense that something must be wrong. What feels like a block is often a sign that you're holding too tightly. The more you squeeze, the more energy you burn, and yet nothing moves. Because life responds to openness, not grip. When you trust, you let go just enough to receive. When you don't, you hold so hard you miss the very thing you asked for. Trying harder doesn't always mean moving closer. Sometimes it means digging a deeper hole. When you operate from desperation, the universe hears you say, "I don't have it yet." And it echoes that reality back to you. Not to punish you, but to reflect your current state, so you can shift it consciously. There's a difference between aligned action and anxious effort. Aligned action feels grounded, peaceful, and focused. Anxious effort feels tight, scattered, and forced. One is magnetic, the other is repelling. And that difference isn't visible on the surface, it's felt in the frequency. You don't need to force what's already in motion. The version of you who has what you want is already broadcasting. But if your current self keeps doubting, controlling, or overreaching, you block the signal. You keep tuning into fear while your desire speaks on the frequency of faith. When you finally stop forcing, you open the space for alignment to enter. It doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing from a different place inside. From peace, not panic. From purpose, not pressure. This shift is subtle, but powerful, and the results are no longer delayed. They're inevitable. We're taught that success is about effort, but manifestation is about resonance. You don't get what you push toward, you get what you harmonize with. And when your field is full of, "I need this to happen," the field hears lack. But when it's full of, "I already trust it's coming," the field reflects completion. Control is a trauma response. It's what you learned when life felt uncertain. But healing means realizing you don't need to control to feel safe. You need to align to feel powerful. And alignment comes when you soften your grip, not when you tighten it. Letting go is not weakness. It's mastery. It says, "I no longer need to demand. I simply need to tune in." This is the difference between force and flow. One chases, one receives. One depletes, one attracts. and your life will always mirror the one you choose more consistently. So if everything feels like it's not working, pause. Ask yourself, am I forcing this because I'm afraid it won't happen? If the answer is yes, don't push harder. Breathe deeper, recalibrate, realign, because nothing is truly blocked. It's just waiting for you to release the tension and receive it. Your job is to tune, not struggle. Struggling makes you feel like you're doing something meaningful, like if it hurts, it must be working. But the universe doesn't reward struggle, it responds to resonance. If your energy is full of stress, tension, and desperation, that's what gets echoed back to you. Not because you're wrong, but because you're out of tune. You were taught that hard work is the only way, that to get anything worth having, you must suffer through it. But manifestation doesn't work that way. It doesn't come from force, it comes from frequency. Your job isn't to grind, it's to align. Not to wrestle with life, but to become a match for what you desire. Tuning means shifting your inner world until it vibrates in harmony with what you're asking for, and that starts with how you feel, how you think, and what you choose to believe. If you're trying to attract peace while living in chaos, your signal won't land. If you're begging for abundance from a place of fear, you'll keep circling scarcity. Struggle creates noise, and in that noise, you can't hear your inner guidance. You lose connection with your intuition, the part of you that already knows, the part that leads you, not through effort, but through alignment. Struggle is a signal that you've stepped away from your true frequency. Tuning is gentle, but powerful. It asks you to pay attention, not to push. It asks you to feel, not to force. To notice where you're tight, where you're resisting, where you're operating from fear, and then soften. Breathe. Choose a higher emotional state. That's the real work. Most people confuse activity with progress. They chase goals, follow routines, repeat affirmations, all while vibrating with doubt. They're doing the work, but not tuning the signal. And when nothing changes, they assume something's wrong. But the only thing missing was energetic alignment. You're not here to struggle your way into the life you want. You're here to become the person who naturally attracts it. That means broadcasting from certainty, not survival. From trust, not tension. It's not about earning your dreams. It's about embodying the frequency that says, it's already mine. The field doesn't respond to how hard you try. It responds to how clearly you resonate. And clarity comes from inner stillness, not outer effort. When your mind is frantic, your energy is scattered. But when you drop into presence, your frequency sharpens, and that's when everything begins to shift. Tuning doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing what's in alignment. Every action becomes sacred when it flows from the right state. Cleaning your space, saying no to an old pattern, speaking truthfully. These are not small moves. They are frequency shifts. They send a message, I'm already becoming. The dream life you want isn't a reward waiting for your exhaustion. It's a reality waiting for your reception. And you don't receive when you're constantly chasing. You receive when you tune. And tuning means letting go of what's out of sync. Habits, people, thoughts, even if they once made sense. If you're tired, it's not because you've done too much. It's likely because you've done too much from the wrong frequency. You've been acting from fear, from lack, from the belief that it's all on you. But your power is not in control, it's in connection. With your truth, with the field, with your future self. There's a version of you who doesn't struggle, who moves with grace, who acts when inspired and rests when needed. That version is not a fantasy. It's already broadcasting. And every time you stop forcing and start listening, you move closer to that reality. That's tuning. That's alignment. Your emotions are instruments. They tell you when you're in sync and when you're not. Frustration means you're trying too hard. Peace means you're tuned. Don't ignore these signals. Use them. Let them guide you back into coherence, back into the state where the universe can finally meet you. You don't need to prove your worth through pain. You don't need to struggle to deserve more. You only need to remember, your frequency is your message. Your energy is your magnet. So ask yourself, what am I tuning into right now? And does it match what I'm asking for? When you stop struggling, you don't give up. You tune in. You shift from doing to being, from chasing to receiving. That's not laziness, that's alignment, that's intelligence, that's power. And the more you live from that space, the more life mirrors it back to you, not because you earned it, but because you matched it, becoming available for the life that's already available. There is a version of life already waiting for you, one filled with clarity, peace, and purpose. It's not in the distant future, and it's not behind some wall you have to break through. It already exists in the field, but you won't reach it by chasing or begging. You reach it by becoming available to receive it. Most people aren't blocked by lack of opportunity. They're blocked by a frequency mismatch. Their dream life is broadcasting, but they're tuned to fear, self-doubt, or control. And as long as you stay in those states, the life you're asking for can't land, not because it's not real, but because you're unavailable to receive it. To become available, you must clear space in your thoughts, in your emotions, and in your energy. That means letting go of beliefs that say you're not ready, releasing the idea that you must do more. Because the truth is, you're not waiting on life. Life is waiting on you. You become available by softening, not tightening, by opening your heart instead of guarding it. The version of you that's ready to receive doesn't need to control everything. It trusts. It allows. It knows that alignment invites what force repels. Think of the quantum field as a constant invitation. It's not judging you. It's not withholding anything. It's simply responding to your state. And your state is shaped by what you consistently feel, expect, and embody. So, if your inner world is chaotic, that's what you keep attracting. The life you want isn't about luck or timing. It's about resonance. The more aligned you are with peace, trust, and worthiness, the clearer your signal becomes, and the field begins to match it. Not slowly, not eventually, but instantly. The moment you become vibrationally available. Becoming available means believing you're worthy now. Not once you've healed, not once you've achieved, but now. Because your worth was never the question. The only question is whether you're willing to stop doubting it long enough to receive what's already yours. It's not about forcing yourself to be positive. It's about removing what's in the way of your natural frequency. The overthinking, the guilt, the old stories that tell you this is too good to be true. Your job isn't to create the life. It's to clear space for the life that's already real. This is why struggle can feel so empty. You work hard, do the routines, say the affirmations, but if your heart is closed, nothing moves. Because you're not available, you're guarded, waiting for proof. But real change happens when you open, even when there's no proof yet. Ask yourself, if the dream life showed up today, would I be emotionally ready for it? Or would I reject it because I still believe it's too soon, too risky, or too much? Becoming available means preparing your energy, your nervous system, your self-concept to hold what you've been asking for. So many people pray for love but don't feel safe in intimacy. They ask for abundance but carry guilt around receiving. They want freedom but stay emotionally tied to control. That's not failure. It's unavailability, and until you become available, you'll keep attracting what you are, not what you want. Becoming available isn't a one-time shift, it's a daily choice. Every morning, you decide which frequency you'll operate from. You can wake up in survival, bracing for life, or you can breathe, feel, and choose a higher state. Even if the outside hasn't caught up yet, the outside world reflects your internal access. When you become emotionally available for joy, you see more of it. When you feel safe receiving, you get more to receive. The world doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you feel safe holding. If something hasn't shown up yet, don't assume it's not meant for you. Ask instead, what version of me would be fully available to receive this? How would they think? What would they let go of? What would they believe? That's your path. Not harder effort, but deeper availability. So stop waiting for signs and start becoming the sign. Be the version of you who is ready now. Because your dream life isn't waiting to be created. It's waiting to be received. And the more you become available, the faster it finds you. Not because you forced it, but because you finally matched it. You were never blocked. You were just holding on to a version of you that couldn't carry what you were asking for. The shift was never about doing more. It was always about sinking deeper. Because the universe doesn't hold back from you, it mirrors you, and when you vibrate from fear, you align with delay. But when you breathe into alignment, reality begins to bend. You don't have to earn your dream life. You have to match it. You have to stop rehearsing the story of being stuck and start broadcasting the frequency of already becoming. So if something in you feels clearer, if something softens when you hear these words, then you're already sinking. Comment below. I'm not blocked. I'm aligned. Let the field know. Let your future self know. Let this moment become your shift point. And if you're ready to keep tuning and to stop fixing and start remembering, gently subscribe to Frequency of Mind. Because here, we don't remove blocks. We rise above them by becoming the version of us that was never blocked to begin with.